In this hour, director Enver Samuel's documentary, Someone to Blame, the Ahmed Timol Inquest, is to be shown at the Johannesburg Film Festival this week. It weaves a compelling narrative that draws on the 2017 reopening of the inquest on the untimely death and brutal murder of young Ahmed Timol in 1971. Samuel, an acclaimed filmmaker, builds on the Indians Can't Fly 2015, a previous documentary that deals with Timol's life, his detention and his death. He joins us now for more. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Samuel. Let's first start with the significance of this now being shown at the Soweto Film Festival. Previously, it's been flighted on SABC.
Yes, at the Jozi Film Festival. Yes. It's been selected for the Jozi Film Festival, which is from the 3rd to the 6th of October. And I think it's quite significant because it's one of the oldest Johannesburg film festivals. It's got quite a good tradition of showing very good films, and it's now another notch for the film. It's showed at Encounters, it's now at the Jozi Film Festival. Yeah.
So let's look at the documentary itself. So this is what you would describe as a sequel, as I mentioned before.
Yes. So basically, it's a follow-up, basically, because the initial documentary, which was titled Indians Can't Fly, looked at the life of Ahmed Timol. But subsequent to that, the historic inquest into his death was held in 2017. So I thought that it was a logical conclusion
to add on
to look at this historic inquest. And decided to make a sequel to it, which is Someone to Blame. The previous one finished with no one to blame, as the original inquest stated that there was no one to blame for his death. And Someone to Blame follows the very intricate over a period of 3 months, the inquest into his death, and actually sees how all the evidence is stacked up to show that he didn't commit suicide.
That someone was indeed to blame.
Yes, someone was to blame.
So how do you draw on the court records, testimony there? Because, I mean, it was quite a very involved and an intricate process.
Yes. It was extremely hard to condense a court case that lasted over 3 months into a 1-hour documentary. But I believe the documentary shows the various steps and shows how the brilliant lawyers and the Timol family, in particular Imtiaz Kaji, the nephew of Ahmed Timol, who was the main reason why the inquest happened, shows the hard work that they did, and we were able to summarize that in 1 hour and show the public how this historic judgment was achieved.
So you rely a lot on interviews for this?
It's a mixture. It's a lot of the court testimony, but highlights of it, or particularly extracts of court testimony, mixed with interviews of people there. So it's a slow build-up to the dramatic conclusion. Yeah.
But the interviews that you did conduct, whom did you focus on? Was it family members, people who were previously intertwined to the mystery of his death?
Yeah, it was family members, obviously, but it was also the team behind the actual inquest. You know, like the lawyers, like Howard Varney, the lead lawyer for the case. You know, so they were able to tell us these blow-by-blow accounts of what was happening at the time and what they were trying to achieve. So family, the lawyers, South African Communist Party, other people that this has happened, similar events has happened to them. So it was a mixture. Yeah.
So, I mean, as you said, obviously built on what was previously known, and some reviews of this particular work has been that it's an intimate look at how those left behind have dealt with the pain. But how does it contextualize the Ahmed Timol story? What does it bring to the fore that was previously missing, other than who is to blame for his death?
Well, I think what it does is it opens a door, as the judge, Judge Billy Motley said, it opens a door for all the other cases, there's so many more. You know, the TRC had about over 300 cases that they said, like, these are cases that need urgent attention. So this is just a tip on the iceberg. You know, it's like it's going to cascade and flow out, because there are so many more cases to be and so many more people to be held accountable for the atrocities of what they did in the past. So, and you know, a lot of people say, like, you know, why don't you move on and that sort of thing, and you just have to
How do you respond to that?
Yeah, exactly. You just have to spend time with the families to know that that's a dumb statement. You know, you cannot move on unless you know what happened. What happened? Where are the bones? How did they die? Where can I find their grave? You know, you have to go put yourself in that family's shoes, and then you'll understand why you cannot move on.
So having said that, I mean, making a documentary film, as you said, you have to draw on, for instance, volumes of court papers and testimony over 3 months, and this is a 1-hour documentary. How do you then decide what is important to highlight, to bring the story together, to portray that closure, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, it was extremely difficult. We spent a lot of time in the edit. The editor that worked on it, Nikki Cominius, she dedicated a lot of time on it. So, but I mean, it's a simple matter. I actually am a firm believer in transcripts, so I have all the interviews transcribed, and all the court testimony I had everything. So it was simply a matter of focusing on the highlights and what was pertinent to the story. Yeah.
So some have said the massification of the media have propelled documentaries as an important source of public discourse. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I mean, documentaries seem to be the poor sort of stepchild to like bigger things like drama and film, but if you look at the messages of documentaries, you know, and the social impact that documentaries have, you know, more and more people are starting to watch documentaries. You know, there are some great South African documentaries that have come out in the last few years. So I think people are starting to gravitate more to documentaries. So
why, beyond the allure of it being mostly non-fiction, the biographical nature of it, what do you think is important and appealing about documentaries, and why we should have more and more of them?
Because of its social impact. I mean, look at a documentary like Mine Was Shot Down. I mean, you know, I mean, it speaks for itself. You know, so it allows people to see what happened. It allows people to get into discourse about key issues around what's happening in our country. So it's, you know, a film, you go and watch a film and unpack it for overnight, but a documentary you can keep unpacking it over a period of time. There's longevity to them. You know, you can take them to schools, you can take them to universities, you can take them to grassroots levels and have conversations about them. You know, so documentaries should get the respect that they deserve.
So beyond that, have you seen anything worthwhile in terms of the change of the technique, something that has helped illuminate them further, just in terms of pride and place in our film industry?
Well, I mean, yes. You know, as I said, you know, South African documentaries are really getting better and better. But things like budgets and sort of, those are big issues that we as documentary filmmakers face, and it's still seen, as I said, the stepchild. So when I go to documentary festivals overseas and I hear about the budgets that their documentaries get and the budget I was given, I want to collapse, because it's like night and day. So I think if we can get the sort of...
Do you think the subject matter is the reason perhaps behind the discrepancies in the budgets?
No, I mean, I think the subject matter is here in South Africa. We have, every corner you look, there's a story to be told. I think it's just a simple matter of actually saying, you know, these are documentaries that can help educate. These are documentaries that can have a social impact. There's an importance to having them for social discourse. And so, you know...
We need to come around to that idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for speaking to us, Director Enver Samuel. He is the documentary maker of Someone to Blame, the Ahmed Timol